Many of you are hopefully at least somewhat familiar with the passage in Romans that says, "What shall we say then? Are we to continue in sin so that grace may increase? May it never be. How shall we who died to sin still live in it?" This is a crucial passage in terms of how it teaches that the grace that we've been given as Christians doesn't mean that we should just sin without any restraint. There's actually something very cool and unique about the phrase, "may it never be," or "by no means," which shows up in verse 2. I believe that by going through the Greek behind this phrase, it will really strengthen and solidify its theological truth in your mind. I think it could also just give you a cool reminder the next time you read it, and really show some of the benefits of studying the Bible in its original languages. The phrase "by no means" is a translation of the Greek words me genoita. The word me means not. The word genoita comes from a word that means come to be or become. The interesting thing about the word genoita is that it actually comes in a fairly unique mood. In Koine Greek, the Greek used in the Bible, every verb has one of 4 moods. The indicative mood is the most common and the simplest. It's when you make a statement about something like, "My kitchen is yellow." Then there's the imperative mood, which is when you tell someone to do something, like, "Paint my kitchen yellow." Then there's the subjunctive mood, which is when you speak about something that could happen. It's a little more complicated than that in some situations, but basically just think of it like the indicative, but less set in stone. Then there's the optative mood, which is the rarest of these 4 moods. It actually shows up only 68 times in the entire Greek New Testament. When used in a verb, the optative mood shows uncertainty. It's kind of like the subjunctive, but even less set in stone. With a verb in the optative mood, you would use words like may or might. So the word genoita would be translated, "it may come to be," or "it might come to be," meaning that there is a slight chance or possibility that it will happen, whatever it is. But in Romans 6:2, genoita is paired with may, which, as you'll remember, means not. But now you might be saying, hold on a second. Most translations say, "may it never be," or "by no means," or something like that. But you just admitted that genoita means "it may come to be," and then if you add a not, it should be "it may not come to be." That extra never that the translators are throwing in, or the entire phrase "by no means," has just been completely added. That's not very literal. And when Bible translators translate the Bible, they should be as literal and as word for word as possible. They should be true to the original Greek without adding too much to the Bible. Remember when I said that the optative mood talks about things that have a slight or distant possibility? So if Paul just said genoita and not may, he'd be answering his own question by saying, "it may come to be." There is a slight chance that this may come to be. But when Paul adds the may there, when he adds the not, he's actually negating that possibility. So in saying me genoita, Paul is really saying there's not even a slight chance or remote possibility that could be true. This is actually one of the strongest ways in biblical Greek that you can negate something, meaning say no to it, saying that no, actually the opposite is true. So in Romans 6:2, when Paul says, "What shall we say then? Are we to continue in sin so that grace may increase?" he essentially answers his own question by saying, there's not even a chance that that's true. As Christians, should we just do whatever we feel like, reasoning that, well, if Jesus already paid for my sins, then it doesn't ultimately matter what I do? This is not even somewhat true. There is no possible way that this is how a Christian should live. As a Christian, you'll recognize that any sin you commit is what made Jesus' brutal, sin-covering, loving sacrifice necessary. And if you actually love Jesus, that knowledge will break your heart every time you sin. This isn't a guilt that leads to death. This is a guilt that leads to repentance and a continual desire to please the one who displayed his infinite love for you in his terrible yet beautiful death on a cross. So next time you read Romans 6, or you're tempted to think that how we live as Christians doesn't ultimately matter, remember what you've learned about a little thing called the optative mood. Last video's top comment was by Andreas Bickford Calloway, who said that the top comment from this video will be featured at the end of the next one. Please check out these other videos if you haven't seen them. Goodbye.